Welcome to TigerComp. This is tables part 2 as we look at some additional features that come with designing tables in Word. So we learned a lot about tables last time, how to start to create different size tables, how to really focusing on borders and shading and many of those kind of features. Today we're going to look a little bit more at how cells work, and then from there, your part of the video or your part of the assignment is going to be to go in and review your borders and shading and work with that stuff for this tutorial. And this will make more sense as we go along. So as you're looking at the screen now, you see what it is that you're going to be creating. You're going to create this table, and it's going to look exactly like this by the time that you are done. And right from the start, you might say, "Hey, I could go ahead and do that," but we're going to talk about how to do this in really hopefully the easiest possible way to put this together to do this. All right. So step 1 is to follow these directions right here, right? Changing your margins and leaving that one blank line, entering a 5x4 table, and then fill in the table as shown. So go ahead and pause the video and do that, and I'll do the same thing on my paper. All right then, now that you have your table created, we're going to look at the next steps. As you can see, this table is pretty simple, and if we were using this for like a quiz or math or something like that, where you're having multiple questions, obviously 3 is not enough, and we really want to insert more columns into this. And to do that, we don't want to start over and create a brand new table and have to retype all these things in. But instead, what we can do is we can click in this column right here, and then we can go to the Layout tab, right? Layout, and then you can do Insert Right, and you'll see 2 columns just like that, real fast, and you get exactly what you need. And we can go ahead and type 4 and 5 right there for our use. Next, as we look at this table, the original table you see are Timothy Thomas and our Maggie Mahoney. They were all on one line, just like Abe Anderson, but now they've become split. And so what we want to do is we want to take this column here and we want to change our width, right? And I think we're going to go up to, let me just double check my notes here, 1.4 in column 1, and then it says change column 2 to 0.95. So let's go ahead and do that. So I selected that, and 1.4, and gotta get on the right page. All right, so I got that one covered, and I'm gonna go here, and right, clicking like that's not gonna get us what we want, so I actually have to go in here and type it myself, and that's gonna adjust it just like that. All right, now one thing we can do is we can come over here, and let's say we wanted one more, but we don't have to go through this whole process of changing things around. What we can do is we can highlight our column, and we can go up here to the merge section under layout and go to what's called split cells. So merge cells brought things together. Now we can split cells just like that, and now it's going to ask you, how do you want to split it? How many columns, how many rows? And so if we want to split it just in half, we can go ahead and do that, and voila, now we have our 6th column here. The problem is now we have 8 total columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but all these columns right here, they're not equal. And we could go there and we could try and measure them all out, or we could go in here and we could start doing things, but we can actually go out to the Layout tab once again, go to the cell size, and use this Distribute Columns button right here. And when we click that, it automatically, very nicely, evens everything out for us and makes our table look nice and neat once again. All right, I realized I had typed the full word points here. That's why things were looking funny up here, but I fixed that if you noticed that as you compared your chart to mine. From here, what we want to do is we want to increase the height of these cells right here. And just to make them a little bit bigger, right now you see they're 1.2, and we're going to raise them up to 0.35. Right? If I can type that in there, makes it nice and big. And you maybe notice the distribute rows thing, right? You could do that very evenly. It's a feature you can use, and it does come in handy from time to time. Right now, we're not going to be using that feature. All right. All right, next step. All right, our next step is we want to transform our table from looking like this to look like this with all these little boxes. To do that, we're going to follow the directions right here. It says we want to split each of these individual boxes into a box with 6 cells in them. So to do that, we're going to go to here, right? And starting in column 3, I'm going to highlight all the way across. So I got 3 through 8, just these cells, all right? And from here, I can go up to split cells. And now I got to think about, okay, well, how many columns do I want, right? If I want 3 in each, okay, that's 3 times 6. So we want to bump that up to 18. And we're going to want 2 rows there, right, to get what we have. And if I click OK, voila, it's done. All right. Now, you need to do the same 2 things to these 2 rows very quickly. I'm not going to record that for you since I just showed you how to do it in row 2. So do it for row 3 and 4 now. Okay, now that we have this nice table together, the end goal is now to transform it to look like this, right? Have all these nice borders there and the shading spots in each of these individual cells. Now, doing this all by itself, one cell at a time, now that's going to take a long time. But the good news is there are shortcuts that we can take or ways to help us out with this to really make this really large task into a much, much quicker task. All right. So pay attention as it can be a little bit confusing first time, but hopefully this video will remind you what to do if you get lost. All right. These are the directions you need to follow as you're going through this. Now, in many programs, Shift and Control are really the 2 buttons that we want to be using to do this idea. All right. And so to use this program right now, we're not actually going to use the Shift key, we're going to use the Control key. And if you notice, I'm holding down Control, and you see how we have this little arrow up here, right, when I go up into the corner. So if I hold down Control, right, select one, now hold down Control, and if I get that little arrow, I can get multiple cells to highlight. And if I accidentally highlight the wrong one, right, it's a good thing to have the tutorial in front of you, or right, you can definitely split screens on your device, and that's going to enable you to be able to see, hopefully be able to see everything you need to see. Right, I'm going to zoom out so I can see exactly what I need. You can see how I'm zooming out like that. So I want this pattern, all these black ones, right? That's what I want. I'm going to shade. And so if I'm get that little arrow, right, just like this, I selected one, but now I'm going to press Control, and I'm going to slowly go through all of these, right, and make sure I get all the right ones. Hopefully you understand this concept, and you can go ahead and do this. Make sure you're taking your time to follow the pattern. Obviously this isn't super fast to watch, super exciting. I just keep talking because you don't want to sit in silence. All right. There's that awkward silence I just gave you. You're welcome. All right. Then come over here. Oh, did I really just do that? All right, now I'm going to pause it because I clicked off. All right, once I have them all selected, just like this, now I can go to my design tab and I can go to shading and and I can find my 20%, which I think is, it goes 5, 10, 15, 20, just like that. And now obviously the highlighting was gray, but now that I've shaded them, now they're permanently all gray, right? They're black on the tutorial just so they show up so you can see what to do. All right. Then that really makes it really nice, really easy to be able to now edit the rest of this table so that it has this grand look of what you're seeing up here, right? So do notice there are a couple formatting changes up at the top. It's not just about the cells. I have some bolding, some centering. Often students don't notice that and forget it. But if we look at this last example in the tutorial, I'm going to go full screen with it again so you guys can see it better, right? The gray that you're seeing here has already had that shading done, right? But the black represents holding down control and selecting these individual cells. Now if we look at these cells that have been highlighted and then we go up here, we're noticing that we're here, here, here. Each of them are this corner right here. And so by pressing control on each of these, I can now go into my design and go to borders, right? I'll go ahead and show you what I'm talking about here now. Right? I'm not going to do all of them. Just because, right? But if I go here and I go to borders now, right? And I go to borders and shading, you get that whole menu. Now, as I'm looking at the preview, I'm realizing I'm selecting all of those for all the rows, and I can think about the weight that I need, right? Which is, I don't know if that's the right weight or not, but I can change the weight now, and now these two are the darker ones. And if I need a lighter weight on the other ones, then I can pick a lighter weight and highlight those boxes. And now when I click, right, making sure it says cell, not the entire table, then I click OK, and it's going to do that for all of them. All right. Now, of course, you got to go into the tutorial and read the directions, right, for the weights of all those lines. Okay, so that's a 1.5 here, a 3-point border here, and then that 20% grading, and then of course putting in those X's, right, center aligned in that way. Okay, so your assignment is to take this table that we've kind of started creating together. Hopefully you got this far together with me, and now your job is to finish it up to make it look exactly like this table here. Or if we go all the way back to the beginning, obviously here's a clean version without all the arrows. And so that's your goal to finish up Word 8. All right, have fun, work hard, ask questions if you have them, and as always, pursue excellence. That's the end of this video.